Okay, hey everybody. This is Blake Bryson. We're going for round two here with Dr. Bartlett. Had some technical difficulties there. So really quickly, just as far as a matter of time, I want to respect Dr. Bartlett's time here. I'm just going to quickly introduce him, let you all know who he is, and he actually had some great information to share with us tonight, specifically about ageLOC Youth and other Pharmanex products. So Dr. Bartlett, he is the Vice President of Global Research and Development for Pharmanex. He oversees all the research and development for that product line and has an extensive background in cardiovascular disease with an emphasis on free radicals and antioxidants, transplant research, and autoimmune inflammatory diseases. That's led him to publish dozens of papers now in various scientific journals. And in about 1996, he was led here to Nu Skin, which he can probably tell a better story about and kind of how he ended up here. So we're really grateful, Mark. Thanks again for being here with us and for persisting through the tech challenges and everything. So yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and just give it to you to take it away and tell us a little bit about your story and a little bit about what makes ageLOC Youth so awesome.
Great. Well, I'm so glad to be here. Sorry about the technical glitch. I'm now on completely Apple devices, and I'm going to throw away the Dell computer, and we'll be in good shape. So I've been working with Nu Skin for 22 years. I've loved this company. I did medical research before this. I was working at the National Cancer Institute, working in mechanisms of cancer metastasis. Have always been fascinated, though, with natural products and how good they are, since most drugs are actually based on natural products, right? They're just modified chemically. So it just always occurred to me that plants that we eat are just a cornucopia provided by nature of these molecules that can be healthy for us. Some we know as vitamins and minerals. Some we now know are called phytochemicals, which are basically chemicals in the plants that aren't actually vitamins and minerals necessarily. They're not classified that way, but we know they have a positive biological effect, right? Whether it's fiber or whether it's polyphenols that act as antioxidants. I think many of you are familiar with this story. So this is something that has driven a lot of the research and innovation at Nu Skin. And we're not only interested in those plant bioactives, but we want to make sure that all of our products have safe bioactives and that they are at the right level according to studies that have been done by others or us, right? And again, this drives our innovation. It makes it very exciting for us to offer products that we really feel can make a difference. Our scope is really, we call it anti-aging loosely, but that doesn't mean sort of living forever, or it doesn't mean that we hate old people, right? It means healthy living. It means being healthy all the days of your life, right? Scientists call that compressed morbidity, meaning, let's say you live to 100, but the last 20 years are kind of, very sick and uncomfortable. That's called morbidity. We want to die young as late in life as possible, right? So just be healthy all the days of your life. And so our research has been in the area of nutrition, led to products like LifePak, antioxidants, which have led to, again, LifePak, but also the biophotonic scanner. Just some great innovation to help you get the right nutrition, the right antioxidants, which are a foundation for healthy aging. But genetics has always intrigued us. There have been a lot of approaches to genetics. When you think genes, you probably think, well, wait, unless you're talking X-Men, the DNA code is fixed for life for all of us, right? We're not going to suffer some kind of mutation or anything. The DNA code is fixed. So that's not going to change as you age. They're doing some amazing research right now. SNP analysis is the basis of 23andMe and some of these other companies that are able to look at the genetic code that you've been given and say, here are some of your weaknesses, maybe some of your strengths, maybe you need a little bit more nutrition in this area, right? So that's an interesting area. But it's basically a medical device. And I don't know that it can shed a lot of light on your background. It's very interesting, but is there a nutritional application? What we found, we actually discovered a paper that was written by these guys. I don't know if you can, I got to lock this phone. Anyway, these guys here, Weindrich and Prohler, we're doing some research that is in the area of gene expression. What I mean by that is, each of the genes in your genetic code, even though they're fixed for life, right? The level of expression, meaning the gene products that result from that gene, there's basically a dimmer switch on each of the 25,000 genes that make and maintain your human body. And that does change, it seems, as you age, right? That's the research that they were doing, which is really fascinating. They were looking at how diet impacts aging. They're studying, rodents and also monkeys. They did some amazing groundbreaking research showing that some of these phytochemicals that we've been talking about from nature actually do impact gene expression. The way that they did that was they had this like really strict diet on these monkeys and found that it impacts what I was saying, that health span thing that I was talking about, the compression of morbidity. And that's really interesting. It was a very strict dietary regimen. And so between us on this call, there's only a few of us, right? Really, it was called caloric restriction, right? They were giving them adequate nutrition, meaning all the vitamins and minerals that they need, right? But cutting down their calories, the fat, the carbohydrate, the protein, quite drastically, like by a third, and showing that they actually live more healthy. Probably not news to us that if we overeat, we'll be unhealthy, but it may be news to you that if you undereat a little bit, maybe you stay a little bit lean and mean and hungry, it has a huge impact on the way that you age. And so what they did next was they checked the gene expression pattern, right? So, when you check gene expression, you do it with this thing called a gene chip. I had one here a minute ago. There it is behind my device, right? So here's a gene chip. And this little device, if you get a sort of a cheek swab and you isolate the RNA, can measure the work output basically of all 25,000 genes in your body. So it's pretty amazing technology. Now you can compare, say, a monkey or a mouse on a really healthy nutritional regimen versus one that's on a normal diet, and then you see, wow, there's differences. And you measure that, and it's expressed like in this heat map you can see here, right? So you can see which genes are turned on, which genes are turned off. The red ones are turned on, the green ones are turned off. And so now what was groundbreaking about their discovery was a pattern that's associated with this healthy lifestyle. And we thought, well, okay, what can we do about that? We could, I suppose, try something really radical, like give us all your food and pay us. That's our business model. So you will eat less and we will get some money and we'll both be happy. Well, yeah, I don't think that model would last, right? I'm obviously not a businessman. Actually, even as a scientist, I realized that was kind of a crazy model. But what if we could look at that gene expression pattern, and then rather than sort of impose this strict dietary regimen on humans, why not see if there are some phytochemicals from nature that can impact gene expression in kind of the same way? Because we know now the genes that are impacted, right? So why not try pomegranate or vitamin E or some of these phytochemicals that we know actually impact aging, and try those and tickle the gene expression, feed healthy individuals, that are older for 3 months, and then look at the gene expression and see if it sort of switches back to that healthy pattern. So to give you an example of that, so basically what we have then is this way of screening. Here's all the different ingredients. We test the gene expression and which of those ingredients is going to pop out as impactful on gene expression, right? So here's an example of an experiment. You see here is old, here is young. Have I got it right? I need my glasses now.
Yeah, switch that.
Yeah, so young is here, old is here, right? So now, if you've got this gene expression pattern that represents old, now let's try to feed different ingredients. So over here, a panel of 5 different ingredients to old. And after 3 months, look at the gene expression pattern and see, is it still the old gene expression pattern or does it change to the younger gene expression pattern? You get it?
Yeah, so what you have here, just maybe in my kind of more layman's kind of understanding. So number 4 there, experiment 4, is someone that is an older person. So it's an old gene expression that's been given a specific breakdown of product, right? Or ingredient, and now you can't really tell much of a difference from the young gene expression to the old gene expression of that person.
Right. Look at this. So this did look like this. 3 months on this particular ingredient, which was Cordyceps sinensis, and now it looks more like this, right? So this was huge for us because it was a proof of concept. You can change gene expression quite dramatically in some instances with certain phytochemicals, right? So the question now is, okay, are all ingredients the same, and do they all work on the same, tissues of the body? So this is why the research took so many years, going through thousands of these gene chips, which cost $500 each, by the way, and another $500 to process, right? And and basically we found a panel of ingredients, quite several ingredients that actually do impact gene expression to to sort of work towards that healthy genotype, right? Um, so we ended up with those ingredients, put them all together, and then tested them again, right? So let me show you the gene expression pattern.
So how really quickly, just maybe
Yeah.
interrupt for a second. How long did that take for ageLOC Youth?
So that was about more than 6 years of research.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Took
Wow.
a lot. This was all, yeah, this was crazy. It was like, oh, is this ever going to happen? And we launched a couple of really cool products along the way based on this gene expression research, on an easier target like our, um, um, what do you call R squared day and night, which are
Right.
really, but, this was a tall order. This was really something that was very difficult. Nobody had ever done this, and all sorts of legal implications, right? Um, the science, what I love about my job is that I'm doing this research that is to help people to stay healthy, right? But it does cross the line sometimes into, oh, can we say that without the government thinking that we're misleading people? So, for example, the recent that what I shared with you about what Weinberg and Proller were doing, they were doing caloric restriction on animals, right? And what we were trying to do is find a pattern of gene expression, using phytochemicals from nature that would mimic that. Now, just between us again, that's a precarious situation because if we say mimics caloric restriction and we give you that story, then of course your customers are going to Google that caloric restriction. And as soon as they Google that, they'll find, oh, life extension, all sorts of crazy things. And then the government will say, well, wait a second, new skin, you can't be claiming that, right? So we've never really told that story, what I'm telling you now. And it's a little bit in the gray, but I trust you guys not to be going and telling people that. But so let's talk about it in terms that you can say, right? We have looked at strict nutritional regimens and their impact on life and health, your health span, right? Compression of morbidity. So we're not talking about living to 120, we're just talking about living healthy all the days of your life. So,
Right.
Strict nutritional regimen and the gene expression pattern associated with that, and then testing different ingredients from nature to see which ones can give you that same pattern of gene expression. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Then
makes perfect
you're
sense.
onto something
Yeah.
because that gene expression impacts everything that happens in your system, all of your biochemistry, and then from the biochemistry, the health of each of the cells and how they age. And of course, because our body is made up of all of those cells, then it's how the whole organism is healthy. So that gene expression pattern, then looking at all of the genes that are impacted by our diet and those things, is quite large. It's very complex. So on the bottom here, you see typical aging. This is the gene expression pattern. So red means, high expression, blue means low expression. And you can see that this is the pattern associated with all the genes, right? If you're just on a normal diet and a normal aging. And then the one on the top is that strict nutritional regimen. This is the pattern that we were trying to mimic. The one in the middle is those ingredients that we found individually to work, which we then put together as a formulation, which looks like this now, right?
Right.
And then feeding that for 3 months changed the gene expression pattern to look like this, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's
So it's
pretty
almost
cool.
exactly.
Yeah. And it was so amazing. And this is based again on 6 years of research, millions of data points. And we just thought, well, wait, okay, the only way that you can get data like this is you have this thing called bioinformatics, where it's basically this new science. If you talk to the young kids today, they're in university that are sort of math geniuses, they'll say, yeah, this is the new science, where you put together algorithms and use the power of computer to handle big data to pull out meaningful data. So it's statistical analysis and algorithms using the power of computer, that just grabs huge amounts of data. And, maybe if you do it wrong, you get sort of a biased view, right? So we trusted the people that did that, but we thought maybe we need a second opinion because this is so groundbreaking. We don't want to embarrass ourselves like, cold fusion at the University of Utah or something, right? So we had a different group altogether revisit all of the data. We sent them the data. It took hours to get all of these millions of data points over to Europe to this other scientist who does big data analysis and bioinformatics. And he had a completely different way of doing it. He called it principal component analysis. If there are any statisticians on the call, you might know what we're talking about there. I don't. Just kidding. A little bit. So he expressed it in a different way. Rather than using a heat map, he used this three-dimensional space graph, right, that shows what that picture looks like when you pull out those principal components, the genes that are changing, right? And so what you see is in young, in this case it was mice, right? That kind of, what is it, this purple sphere, you see that? That's what young looks like in terms of gene expression, right? So if that's what young looks like, what does old look like? Old is that sort of zeppelin that's crashing into the earth, that blue one, right? That's what old looks like. So there's quite a difference between young and old. That's typical aging versus young, right? Now, if you look at imposition of this strict nutritional regimen that's going to give you a healthy outcome, then it is the green. See that green up there? That little green zeppelin? So that's what we're trying to mimic when we feed these ingredients. So when we feed the ingredients using those data, the red, that's what it looks like, right? That's what ageLOC Youth looks like. Oh, it's the same color.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's not exact, but it's pretty dang close.
Yeah.
And the scientist that did this for us, a really nice, a PhD, a Spaniard, he wrote me this letter and said, I'm just so amazed by these data. What the devil were you feeding these mice? This is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. So we did get our second opinion, right? So that's what resulted in this wonderful product, ageLOC Youth, right? Those ingredients, it's no coincidence that, we know a little bit about aging and about phytochemicals. So we didn't just sort of grab stuff out of the dark. It wasn't exactly like a needle in a haystack that we were looking for. We had some pretty good ideas about ingredients that have an impact on our youthfulness. And part of it was by choosing ingredients from around the world that were sort of known to have impact, right? So we don't have time to go through all of the ingredient panel, but these are natural, safe ingredients that you would have in a diet, but probably not everyone in America would eat all of these things that are on here. Some of these things would be eaten in Japan, maybe some of them in Northern Europe, some in Africa, whatever it may be. They're kind of some of those, again, safe, natural ingredients, but not something that you would necessarily get every day, even if you have a healthy diet.
Right. So even if you had access, you'd have to be on a plane pretty much to fly for somewhere for breakfast, somewhere for lunch, somewhere for dinner in order to actually get all those ingredients in your diet, right?
Right. Yeah, you'd have to kind of have an unusual diet with some kind of unusual international foods to sort of get all of those nutrients. So right. It's yeah.
Very cool. So that kind of gives us a really in-depth kind of look, because I think that a lot of people, when they see youth and they see nano, and they pretty much flip a coin and they choose between the two. I personally just take both. I think that a lot of people do. But so what are some of the, I guess I understand now some of the main kind of things with youth, but what are some of the main things that someone might notice if they started taking youth? Like what would they maybe see in their day-to-day life, or what have people said that they see that's different?
Yeah, it's a little bit different with everyone, because, what I've found is that, people, because of their lifestyle or their age or their diet, sort of are basically feeling different things when they take the product. Even if it's a nutritional product, it's like, well, their diet sort of is lacking something that someone else's diet is not lacking, but they lack something different, right? So, anecdotally, people are feeling alert, they're feeling more energy. It's, I think you have to try it to sort of see what it does for you.
Right.
Even if you don't feel it immediately, which I think you will, it's kind of a little bit like a 401k or an investment of some sort, where you sort of, I encourage you to look at the science, and then sort of see for yourself, okay, do I believe this science? Does this look robust enough? Does this look really like authentic, robust anti-aging science? We have publications, and we invite you to look deeper, and that is going to increase your trust in the product so that you will take it like I do for the rest of my life, right?
Right.
So yeah, you mentioned LifePak. Which one should I take, LifePak or this? That's a common dilemma, I suppose. They're both kind of on the pricey side, and the reason is because of the science that's gone into it and the quality of the ingredients. And believe me, that does make a huge difference. Also, the levels are, the levels that are proven to be effective, not just enough to put on the label, right, so that it's there. Personally, you could just take the LifePak, the normal LifePak, plus the Youth if you're sort of on more of a budget, because the oil, the fish oil, the basic omega-3 fatty acids that are in a normal full dose of Youth are the same as in Nano, right? So, that's an option too, because this is providing nutrition, right, to fill the nutritional gaps that a lot of people are getting, and LifePak, at least ageLOC Youth, is more anti-aging science, right? Really cutting edge, and
That's a good pro tip right there, actually, because the regular LifePak is actually a lot more affordable than the LifePak Nano. But
yeah,
so yeah, that's actually something people should take note of.
yeah,
Okay,
very
that
comprehensive.
that makes sense. And then so we have Youth, we have kind of a more of an anti. It's really I don't know if this is a correct claim, but I think it's the first product that's really an anti-aging approach from the inside out. I
Yeah,
don't think there's anything else that's out there.
yeah, that's what the science was all targeted to, and that's where the product ended up. And it's the first that I know of in this kind of category. Certainly the only one I know of that's used gene chip technology and such a robust approach over a long period of time to develop it.
Right.
So
And then is it? And I actually don't know. I think it is, but is it scanner certified as well?
yes, absolutely. In fact, that's a surprising thing. We did a scanner study. That was one of the first studies that we did out of the box to sort of look at its impact on the scanner score. And LifePak Nano has 17 milligrams of carotenoids to give you a certain score. Now, this product has, I think, slightly less. I might be corrected. I have to add up the numbers again. But we were amazed at the impact. It's very similar to LifePak Nano. So it has a huge impact on the scanner score. Definitely, you can see it. And that's so that sort of goes into, okay, what other studies did we do, right? So we did a scanner study. That's rather obvious because it does have carotenoids and a nice omega-3 fatty acid base. But we've also done other studies. So the goal then was to see, okay, what impact would this have on human aging, right? And how do you do a study like that without sort of waiting till the lifespan of a human, right?
Right.
So, maybe Blake, your children's children could benefit when we finally publish this study that shows that it has an impact. So, we had to look at new and sort of robust but novel approaches on how to measure sort of the impact. And the way that we looked at it was there are certain things, both internally and from an external sort of thing, that help to age us, that sort of push us in the aging direction. And we know what a lot of those mechanisms are, inflammation and other things. So we can look at that. And one of the first studies that we did after the scanner study, of course, was looking at the skin. Your skin, being the largest organ and totally external, is a dead giveaway of how old you are, right? And you can age faster or slower depending upon whether you smoke or what your lifestyle is like, and it will show on your skin. So what better organ to study in a shorter term to see if the product, these ingredients, can actually have an impact? And so that's what we did. We did a dermatology type study where we fed humans this product for 2 months, and we kind of assaulted the skin a little bit with some, sort of some sun type radiation, kind of like a sunburn on the skin, to sort of see are these ingredients sort of helping to push back those impactors on aging your skin, and showed very nicely in a published study, again, invite you to look further, that it has an impact on not only lessening the impact of this assault on the skin, but also even after 2 months, and this really surprised the dermatologists, when they have a dermatologist panel and they don't know who's had the product or who hasn't, but they can look, baseline versus now, is there an improvement in some of these things like radiance and fine lines and wrinkles, and actually found a visible impact, right? So, wow. And then using certain scores like skin elasticity, using equipment that measures it objectively. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Another study that we're doing underway right now, which has been going for about 3 years, which is a really unique brain study, right? How are you aging in terms of your cognitive function, your memory, things like that, and also using state-of-the-art technology in brain imaging to look at the impact of these ingredients on the brain. So and those results were exciting and will be published, in the next year or so.
Very cool. So we're seeing a product that not only helps from a carotenoid standpoint, it helps from a skin standpoint, it helps from a brain standpoint, it helps, I'm sure, with other things that what we've seen carotenoids help with, like eye and different function as well, I'm sure.
Right.
And amazingly right now, and I'm just going to kind of throw this out so the group knows, through the 31st, we have an opportunity to actually sign up for a year-long ADR, so a year-long auto order, and you can get access to youth at about a 40% discount, because the retail price right now of youth, I mean, you just heard 6 years, millions of dollars of research, all the things that Mark has explained to us. It's $171 retail normally, and right now you can get access to it for $99 for a full year.
That's a
And Mark, I
huge
know
discount.
it's huge, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's $50 less than the Life Pack is right now. So I mean, I think it's our flagship product. I think that it's a product that's going to be around for years and years and years to come. So I think it's
Absolutely.
something
Better
we
be
should all
around,
be taking.
tell you that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It better be around for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure, exactly. That's a good point. And then I got a text from my dad. Maybe you'll know what this means. I don't know what this means. He says I'm supposed to ask you about natural. Does that mean anything to
Ah,
you?
okay, natural. So, yep, that's kind of a buzzword, right? Is it all natural? We get that question all the time, right?
Okay.
Um, so are the ingredients all natural? I guess that's what he's trying to ask.
Maybe,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so we know the tricks of the trade, right? A lot of people sort of claim all natural when it's not all natural. Here's what we do. We're totally transparent on this regard. Many of the ingredients are completely natural. Vitamin E, the fish oil, of course, they're natural. Vitamin E, we know if you try to synthesize it, you get left-handed and right-handed sort of chemistry going on. The left hand is not natural, right? So because there are isomers that aren't natural, mirror images that aren't sort of made by nature. So some
Right.
things you cannot synthesize and get nature identical. Some things you can. So if you know what you're doing, you can use nature identical synthesized ingredients that are cheaper, more pure, and do the job just as well. Your body recognizes it. So lycopene, the carotenoid, is a good example of that. Vitamin C is another good example of that. Biotin, another good example. Also, some things like biotin, if you want the natural source, it has to come from animal livers and things like that. It's not always easy, not even always preferable to get the natural. So we know what we're doing in this arena. We won't tell you it's all natural if it isn't, but we know when it's nature identical and when it's not, and therefore what to use.
Got it. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay. Well, and so once again, I don't want to take up your whole night. We've actually held you a
No,
lot longer than we were planning to
no
because
problem.
we had some tech difficulties. But thank you again for jumping on with us. I think this was incredibly insightful for our group. That right now, a lot of people, you'd be shocked at how many people think that we just sell toothpaste.
Uh-huh.
um,
Yeah, we can be excused considering the success of that too, right?
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly. It's not a bad door to come into, but we do
Right.
hope that people will kind of stumble through that door and find some of the things that we've been spending years and millions of dollars on, and really would have made Nu Skin so successful, not just here in the U.S. but internationally. So,
Right.
so thanks again, Mark. I'm sure that
My
we're
pleasure.
gonna get personally a lot of use out of this interview, and I think it's gonna help a lot of people start to take youth and get advantage of the benefits. So.
Great.
Um, with that, I think that we're going to close it up. I might have had a couple of questions that I might maybe send you a text message about
Okay.
that I missed throughout the call. But like I said, I don't want to take up your whole night, and I don't want to take up everybody's whole night that's on with us live. So
All right. Well, thanks, Blake. Sure appreciate it. It's been fun.
no problem. Yeah, it's been a great night. So we'll talk to you soon, Mark. And thanks everybody for jumping on with us live. Do leave questions, and I will make sure that we get them answered in the comments as we can.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks again.